Well, we are coming to the chapter number 10. This is a project closeout or closer, we can say. See, even when the project is progress very well as per the plan, and we have come to the end with all deliverables as per the SDLC cycle, we are coming to final testing, evaluation, approvals, and now closer activity itself is also a very formal activity, and it is a very important phase where we have to work out even future plan and a lot of learnings. So that is why closer activity is vital in that sense. So look at the project planning, closeout, finalize all project activities. See the elements of project closes: finishing the work, handing over the product, gaining the acceptance of the product, harvesting the benefit, reviewing of all how it all went, putting it all to the bad, and disbanding the team. So when it is a project, there are many people, many sometimes even many teams, we can say, different companies, different experts are involved. So we have to first harness the team, then we have to club the entire project documentation, final deliverables, and we have to finish the work, hand it over to the concerned authority or concerned customer or client, we can say, then getting their acceptance, the fulfillment of their final deliverables are there that we have to accept, they have to accept, when the client have to accept it. That acceptance is important. We have to understand the benefits the client has achieved out of that project, and obviously we achieve in terms of our experience, learning, and the financial gain. Then we have to review all the things, what how it went, and that documented we can, because this can be a very useful documentation for our future project. So that can be a very important thing in the closure process. We have to take care of it. So it is a formal closure process which ensure what common understanding about the status of the project, specific issues, how we resolve it, how the responsibility is being handled, balancing out the expectation between the client and vendor. So as a project developer, we have client on one side and the vendors on other side. So how you handle them, balance them, that is very important. The clarity of handoff, so that the client get prepared to take on the operational responsibility. So we have to hand over smoothly to the client so that it can learn in appropriate phase, or the way client understand the project and deploy it should be very smooth. So that is the closer part of it. Clarity on the commercial issues, billing, payments, this is also vital financially. When you hand it over, your final closing billing and the payments received from the clients, and even when you have suppliers to pay, so how you're closing all those contractual obligations, future maintenance, all those things we have to keep in mind where at the closure procedure. The purpose of the closeout phase and the role of the project manager is very important at the time. Success of the work product when delivered to the client. This success refer to the flawless working of given functionality as well as the ability of the solution to meet the stated purpose. So finally, the project has to meet the purpose or the objectives for which we have worked together or work on that project. Many times, if the solution meet the main purpose, the client does not uh, hit pick on smaller requirement which may have been missed out. So ultimately, we have to fulfill all requirements. So something which we can miss out can be covered up in the closure. The document related to handing over to the product, this is another important aspect. How the handing over, user manuals, maintenance requirements, proactive, the preventive maintenance. So all those things we have to mention. Testing aspect, acceptance. So all this documentation is very important in this closure. Managing the expectation of all levels within the client organization, people who are likely to be negatively affected by implementation. So all those aspects we have to check before closure. Expectation, then obligations, contractual obligations, delivering the defined must be completed. These are all basic ideas during closure we have to take into consideration. contractual obligation, tracking and billing of change requests for another aspect. So this you can go through is a text which is very clearly explaining what are the activities and what are the aspects that must be covered in the closure procedure. There are different types of closures. One is administrative closure. So administrative closure ultimately looking for what aspects closure of the project is important part of the integrated integration management knowledge area that is achieved when all the work is verified, delivered, accepted by the customer. All disputes are raised, finalized, and come to the closure. All in between in the during the project there may be some shortcomings, issues, or disputes. Are they are all properly mitigated and resolved? That is what you have to close in the closure procedure. And this is the administrative activity. Final completion of the closure is a part of activities that we have to handle. Within administrative closure, there are several items: timekeeping, cost accountancy, accounts closures, and the contractual acceptance letters. These are all administrative responsibilities. Okay, before the phase can be administratively closed, all the time must be recorded, submitted, and approved. Contract or the costing elements are closed. See, either still we have WBS still playing role in the closure stage, work breakdown structure, because our costing, time, efforts are always traceable to WBS. That you must understand. Direct cost expenses, financial and the time aspects are always related to efforts, and efforts are linked to tasks, and tasks are broken down from what? WBS. So that is what is the link is. So still in closer level we have to track that. Contract acceptance letters, this is a formal letter we have to get from the authority of the client or the respective people who are involved in the project. Baseline creation, that is of course the baseline is established mainly in configuration management. We look at it. Baseline configuration, inventory is verified and formally accepted. They are documented again. Phase do not have formal baseline. Project deliverables should be invented. Inventories, project archives, these are all ultimately either software form or hardware, somewhere in documentation form. We have to keep the copies of it, right? Staff transition completion, the cost account is closed. The staff members should be transferred to other activity costs. So these are some vital elements which are to be taken care by. Then even knowledge, lesson learned, how we learn from this project, what are the different aspects we covered in this project, that is to be understood. Contract closure is a formal activity, obviously, at the time of closure with the client, even with the suppliers at the other end. Different closures, procurement closure, then administrative closure, product acceptance, contracts. See, there may be a different suppliers which from which we are continuously getting material for development of projects. So we have to close that procurement cycle with the proper billing and payments. Procurement closures, that is what is involved, done multiple times. Of course, during the cycle of project, there may be done multiple times, but at the time of closure, we have to take the complete balance sheet, or we can say complete formal closure of the procurement process. Administrative closure is only once in a phase, is the end of the thing. Entirely, project closure is not completed without procurement closure. So procurement closure is very vital before closure, because all money involved in that is sum up in the procurement closure. Product acceptance is carried out using the closure projects or phase process, and the contracts are closed using closed procurement process, ultimately with the suppliers. Financial accounting also very important aspect before closing. Okay, so it's internal elements or other outsourced projects, suppliers, everybody. The financial closures we have to take care of. When the financial closure is completed, all expenditure made during the project has been paid as agreed to the purchase order, contract, or interagency agreements. So these are all elements, financial elements, administrative, then financial. Those has to be covered in the closure process majorly. These are 10 steps which I mentioned, which you can go through. I need not to read because very well they are defined and documented. So you can just go through the books, all the points, okay? And you have to remember those steps before going for closure. This is somewhat a flow chart, project closure flow chart. So we can start with project. Once it is according to the project plan, it is completed, deliverables are accepted. So if it is no, then the route is different. If it is yes, then the route is this. Okay, no, then it is a repetitive. You have to go uh, to and fro to cover up the acceptance. Okay, then it comes a hand of process approval, hand of plan, hand of conducted, sign off completed, project close. Archive means the project archives are to be stored somewhere. Then at the one end, when we are handing off, there are some areas that we have to ensure, we have to plan, training of the clients, warranty purpose, product warranty, then update, knowledge transfer. These are all sub elements that we have to taken care with the closure procedure part. Then there is something called post project review, to review the complete project. Mainly the learning aspect is covered in this post project. How we are come out with the different difficulties and how you are taken care of those difficulties, that is to be handled or covered in this project review, post project reviews, where we went right and where we went wrong. That is, we have to learn. This is the learning cycle. We can say every project is a new learning. So that is to be understood and reviewed in the post project review. Well, this is a flowchart for project lesson learning. This is very critical thing which we must do at the end once the project is closer phase. That is what we have learned out of this project, because this is going to help us in the future project. So it is supposed to be a formal procedure in the closure procedure. So you can see the detailed understanding, what way it help us future projects, and what are the best practices, what are the problems we solve, or what way we handle the different teams, complexity of the project, what difficulties we have faced. All those things are to be documented. And you can see there is a loop. So we have to formal recommendation we can make to the management, but get it approved as a project data, we archive it, and it can be a continuously done throughout the project, in fact. And somewhere at the time of closure, you have to close the documentation, and we have to even capture the feedback for future projects through this. So this is very vital process, part of this in the closure procedure. Finally, thank you.